first thing is that vitamin D is called a vitamin but behaves like a hormone. So we have one of the classic cases of a misnomer probably now on our hands. For the measurement, then performance specifications of the assay, our lab data and a discussion with the panelists, a little review of literature because we need to know what labs are going to do in the near future or probably the next 5 to 10 years, 20 years. Like I said, I will skip this. What we measure here is the 25-hydroxy vitamin D3. It's a stable compound with a good half-life, so we are going to be measuring this. We may sometimes have to measure the 125-dihydroxy vitamin D3. Sorry. Yeah, again, in detail, any assay which will measure the 25-hydroxy D has to measure both 25-hydroxy D2 as well as D3. So we have to be sure that the assay that we are choosing or using is measuring both of these compounds. The assays which are available today are the immunoassays and the direct detection methods. The immunoassays started off with the RIA in the 1980s, and for almost 20 years, that was the mainstay of vitamin D testing. In fact, the Diasorin RIA has set the standard for clinical diagnosis of nutritional vitamin D deficiency. Automated immunoassays came somewhere in 2001, and I'm thankful for them now because the loads that we are handling today, we wouldn't have done without a mature automated assay. The direct detection methods are LCMS and the HPLC. More about them later. Like I said, the 25-hydroxy D it bounds to vitamin D binding protein. Adequate levels are required for full physiological activity of vitamin D, and the half-life is 2 to 3 weeks, and therefore it's a stable compound. These are the common platforms or the assays which are available at the moment to us. I have listed the common ones. I'm sorry if I've missed out any assay which any one of you is using other than this. You can tell me about it when we talk about the EQUAS performance. Now, why we are discussing the assay performances today, or the performance criteria or performance specifications. We did that with T3, T4, TSH. Now we are doing it with vitamin D. This is because any laboratory, when we are doing a test, we need to know whether we are doing it correctly, accurately, precisely, whatever the word may be. What we need is to deliver. Now, unless we know the yardsticks against which we will be comparing our performance, we will not be able to surely say whether our assays are going correctly or wrongly. So obviously all of us do IQC as well as participate in EQUAS to know where we stand. What we have done today is, throughout today and tomorrow, we will be introducing the audience to a few of the steps that we take to understand these assays and see what quality control we apply. So here I've shown you the precision. The precision done on one sample and the derivation of the CV%. We try to do these in most of our assays. When we validate the method, we do the precision. In vitamin D, we have done it at all 3 levels, 8, 26, and 83. So that you know your performance at the different levels also. Whether we are performing, basically what we need to do is we need to perform at the critical levels. Like TSH, like what we discussed, our best performance should be around 4 to 5. Because that is where we may land up with actual problems. EQUAS, here the interesting thing is that again, using the most common available machines, on one sample, we can have a lowest value of 12.3 and a highest value of 20.2. So again, a patient can easily shift from one group of, say, insufficiency or hypovitaminosis to another of sufficiency or even toxic, because this is applicable at all levels. Now, what we are trying to do here is not hide or use this as a defense, because finally, when we are giving out a report, we have to give the correct report. We cannot give out each report and say, oh, there's variation. We are not trying to do that. But unless we understand that there is variation, we will not be able to correct it. So that is where we need to know where we stand in our EQUAS performances. This is another this is from Randox company, a REQUAS as it is called. So again, you can see a similar difference, 13 and 26 being reported on the same sample. And believe me, most of the labs will run their EQUA samples with due care. And despite this, and good statistical analysis, and most of these are multinational EQUAS programs, and they are answerable. In fact, they have a standard applied to them, and they themselves are accredited. So what we are looking at is real data obtained internationally. Even a lot of studies which have been done are showing that the name of the method is not important, but again, a value of 65.6, 70.3, 69, 82 is the LCMS mean. So again, lots of studies have been showing this variation in laboratories. Now, vitamin D is definitely one of the most ordered assays of today. We've done about 8,000 samples in 6 months, last 6 months. So about 16,000 in the last 1 year. And again, we are seeing a large group here, almost 60, and another 30. So together, almost 90% are either showing insufficiency or hypovitaminosis. I also got the data from Lister Metropolis. Dr. Anita Suryanarayan is here with us from Chennai. They have done about 18,000 samples in the last 1 year, and they're showing a similar, they are showing a similar 68 plus 11. So this is what the laboratory data is showing. Reference intervals, here itself you might have seen that, or we have already discussed, that reference intervals is a problem at the moment faced by most labs. The Institute of Medicine, Endocrine Society, the NKFG Foundation, here you can see that they are all giving different values. So what do I follow? Most of the major labs across the US, Arup, Mayo, LabCorp, and Liaison Diasorin are giving different levels. So what do we follow? So we will pose these questions to the experts a little later. The first thing which I would like to know from all of you is whether, as clinicians or the people who are ordering these tests, are you aware of the technology used by the labs and that there are so many different assays available? Any one of you could answer, no problem. Ashish?
Well, I'm aware that there are different assays, and so there are big differences. And once in a while, as a clinician, you get accosted by a very clever by half patient who decides that this report is gross, I'm so normal, and how can my vitamin D be 10? So he goes to another lab, gets another done, and then comes back and puts a report in front of you, and then you have to face them. So we face this, but because of our involvement with vitamin D, we know that there's a large variation in the technique it is done, chromatography, immunoassays. I don't know which lab does what, so